Hello and welcome to week 3 in research methods and a very vital chapter. We'll be looking at defining variables and how we measure those. Now, I hope you might remember from research methods that were part of Introduction to Psychology and certainly almost every psych class that you've taken. Chapter 2, or somewhere at the beginning, they talk about research methods, just repeated over and over because of its importance. Now, when we have an interesting question to ask in psychology, so like, what is the effect of intelligence on success in marriage? Now, we say we're looking at two variables. We're looking at intelligence and we're looking at success. Now, for you and I, intelligence can mean very different things, and success in marriage can actually be meaning very different things. So we just can't leave it at that. We have to define what we mean by intelligence, and we have to define what we mean by success in marriage in order to move forward with that research question. Those variables, those intelligence and success in marriage, they're going to go down into quantifiable measures. If we're doing quantitative research, qualitative is different. We'll get to that at the end of the course. But we're going to quantitative research. We have to think, how am I going to measure intelligence? All the different options that are out there. If you took Intro to Psych, you know there's a whole assignment where you're thinking about, was it an assignment or discussion? Over the years it's changed, but you think about all the different ways in which we measure intelligence and how are we going to define that. So let's just say, I'm going to use an IQ test for that. I'm going to use that measure. And then how do I define success in marriage? It's like the number of years they're together. Do I give them a test about how happy they are in their relationship? Do I interview the kids to see their interpretation of what's going on in terms of kind of an outcome to a degree of happiness in marriage? There's many ways to do that. So let's say I decide I'm going to do a couples. I'm going to use an instrument that measures how happy each person is in the relationship, how happy they are together with each other. And I'm going to get a score, and then, of course, I'll go through with my experimental design. Now, at this point in the course, we're talking about defining those variables. So we have to go from English to something that gives us numbers. So we go from English, intelligence, happiness in marriage, to something like a test, IQ, and scores on this couple happiness test. Hint for future, when you define your hypotheses, you're going to state those in terms reflecting your measures. You will not hypothesize that people with high intelligence will have happy marriages. You will say people with high IQ scores will score better on the couple's happiness test. That's how you will define your hypothesis. So for now, what we're looking at is that taking English and moving it into something that can be measured, this whole concept about how we operationalize our variables. So the discussion, what I would like you to think about, just use my example. I went from intelligence, happiness in a couple, to scores on an IQ test and happiness measured by the couple's test. What is the significance of me making that definition? How does that play out in terms of what I'm going to actually discover? And what I want you to think about is when you make that transition, I'm choosing one of many ways to measure intelligence, and I'm choosing one of many ways to measure happiness in a marriage. Are we going to lose information that way? And I want you to use some examples of how you might make that transition, maybe even looking at your source article and how they did the transition. Sometimes it's not clear in research today because everything's sort of like so detailed and everything. But to move from English to those measures, what do you miss? What happens with that? What's the significance of that? So I might come out with a positive relationship there, but what does that really say? If I bring that back up to English and I say intelligence and happiness in a marriage, what happens to my ability to draw a relationship there? Because I've made decisions as to how I'm going to measure those things. So that's what I want the discussion to look at. And then there's a quiz simply looking at the concepts of, first, giving me a definition of both independent and dependent variables and their relationship to one another. And the next one is to read up, look at my course book stuff, look in the textbook. There is no textbook. Sorry, I was thinking Intro to Psych. Look online, look it up, get a good sense of what the Hawthorne effect is, and give me a definition of that with a real world example from your life. Don't give me the example of a factory where they fan this. I don't want that. I already know that. I want you to see if you can look at your own life and tell me a story about your own life where you may have experienced the Hawthorne effect. Okay, on to our special assignment, ultimately your proposal. We're still in the source article searching process. I want to re-emphasize something. I need to okay the article before you do that assignment. So you need to be communicating with me. I think I'm not here. I've heard from a lot, but I've definitively not heard from everybody. I'm taking notes when I hear about what people are thinking of doing, and I've met with some people. Please reach out to me with your ideas prior to doing the assignment, the source article assignment. That is due September 29, so we have plenty of time. We have 20 days to work through that. I'm expecting some communication from you. And think about how that relates to your defining variables for your project. One of the ways in which my students who are looking at replicating a study, one of the ways in which, despite the fact that it's a replication, we might do the method differently. One of those ways is sometimes we choose a different method to measure a variable because we don't have access to the kind of method that they have. That is one of the ways that we do that, and that is significant to know that that decision will affect your ability to really replicate that study. It's actually a diversion from that, a different measure. But that has happened where individuals have encountered that they can't have access to a test or a particular instrument, or their stress is sometimes measured by blood samples, and we're not going to be doing that. We're not going to be doing that at KV. We don't have the facilities. I don't want to deal with that. So if that's the study, then we have to find a different way to measure stress. And is it as good as blood draws, kind of thing will be our question. But either way, the point is, if you come across research that you want to replicate, that's a research study that has collected data, you've gone beyond the article, you've gone beyond like these articles in the APA world about that mention different studies, you're looking at the studies themselves, something that you want to replicate. And get that to me as soon as you can so I could take a look at it and I can do my whole feasibility thing. Because once those are in, once we have all worked out which article is going to be your source article, the assignments start coming. And you got to be right on top of that. They're going to be each week. There's going to be stuff that's going to start due pretty much until the end of the semester. So this first one's really vital to get a good one that's going to be good for you and interesting and delightful. And so far, I've been really pleased with the people that I've talked to and I've communicated with about what they're choosing to do. There's going to be some really cool things going on. People are charging right ahead. I'm going to be publishing that list so everybody's going to know what everybody's doing. Just us. Don't share that information, but it's going to among the live section and the online section of this class. I'm going to be sharing what people are doing, and that will be fun, so you know what your colleagues are up to. So that's the stuff for this week. So this week we're looking at variables and measurements. There's a discussion, there's a quiz. That's it for the chapter, and then the continued work on your source articles. So communicate with me on that. I am currently inundated with lots of work with my psych seminar. There's almost 40 students, 40 new psych students that we're working on their schedules for next semester. And I've got these, that's kind of a big beginning. So I can only do so much in 24 hours, but I will be getting back to you as soon as possible. I usually prioritize this class. If you send me an article, I'll usually go right into it when I see it, and I'll send out some feedback to you. So get that out to me. Have a great week. It looks like it's really great weather today, at least. And you still have a little bit of summer-like weather. So enjoy, go do some work outside. Like homework, bring your laptop and go out. But if you have to mow the lawn, go do that too. So, all right. So that's it for this week. I look forward to seeing those discussions about variables and whatnot. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing from many of you regarding your source article. So get on to those. So have a great week and take care.